What's going up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Tips on the Beat with D.Royul, where I, D.Royul, will be making a beat, and I'm going to give you 5 insights into how I made it to hopefully give you some fresh insight into how you have been making creative music in your life. Now, today we're doing a nice pop, upbeat dance hit. I had a lot of fun making this one. And I'm really excited to show you how something brand new in my creative process came about. Brand new, you say? Meaning I've never really made a beat like this. And the creativity was just flowing. And when I sat back and looked at this beat, I was like, man, I have never made anything like this before. So I'm really excited to dig into this and to show you some of the new things that came out of my brain when I was looking outside of my own box. So of course, without further ado, let's see how it all came together. Alright everybody, tip number 1. Introductions are like book covers. They are there to give your listener an understanding about what they're about to hear. Sometimes introductions have nothing to do with the song, but in pop tracks and dance tracks, it's used to energize your audience to the fun time they're about to have, to the high energy beat that they're about to dance to. So you want to use that opportunity to ramp up the energy in an enticing way. You want to draw them in with what's going on. You know, it starts a little slow, it starts a little quiet, but then all of a sudden more things come in and you're like, whoa, what's about to happen? And that's the kind of mindset you want to do. Similar to how a book cover has a picture on it, sometimes, has a picture on it, and it makes the person go, huh, I wonder what's on the inside of this, and I wonder what this picture is about. Alright, tip number 2. Layering tracks or layering sounds so that you can get the desired effect that you want. Right now with that bass line I played, it's actually the exact same bass line that I played in the beginning of the intro. And I wanted to make sure that it filled the track how I wanted, so I put another bass underneath it. Tweaked with the volumes a bit to make sure that they're coming through the exact way that I want. And now I have the bass that I want in the pre-chorus section build up before the big chorus drops. And actually, that's going to put us right into tip number 3. Put instruments in specific frequency ranges so that they don't clash into each other in the track. When you have too many sounds that are existing in the same frequency range, it creates a very muddy sound in the track. Now, if you remember in some past episodes, I talked about frequency ranges. It goes from like 100 to 20,000. The fact is, it's the low and the highness of the quality of a sound. And a lot of bass sounds, they operate in the low, between 100 and 400. And the high sounds are between the 10,000 and 20,000, and there's all the numbers in between. And different instruments come in a different number. And so if you have a synthesizer sound that might have a wide range and you're layering them, you want to go in and you want to cut out some of the frequencies that are clashing with each other. And I'll show you what I did with this bass one. Now, as you can see right here, this is the very first bass sound that I used. And you can see how all of these moving waveforms, this is where the actual sound exists. And I put a high pass filter, meaning I cut out the low sections, because this is the part of the bass sound that I want for the other bass instrument that I'm using. So by taking out these sounds, I have the punch of the bass synthesizer without actually having the low portions of it. Now here's the second one. This is the second one that we have moving, and it's got a lot more of the lower part to it because that's the part of the sound that I like. So I lowered some of the sound around here that has most of the existing sound coming through in the other one. So now it's not clashing in this area either. So I'm getting the low end of this bass synthesizer and I'm getting the mid-range of this one. So when you put them together, you can see now that they're working together to create a full bass sound because of how I crafted the sound frequency waves. All right, everybody, tip number 4 is continue to use recurring themes in the track to bring a source of normalcy to the listener, a familiarity, so to speak. If you notice in dance tracks, there's a specific line or a specific melody, riff that consistently comes back through the track because, you know, they're moving along and it makes the person feel like they understand what's going on and it gets them comfortable in the music. It allows them to be able to buy into what's going on. Not too much is going on in pop records that is confusing. It's got something that they can always come back home to. And by doing that through the theme, it makes the people feel like either they've heard it before or they know where it's going. And when someone is comfortable or understanding, comfortable and knowing where they're going, they are more likely to be able to just settle in the track and enjoy the music. And tip number 5, throw them for a loop once you've established a flow. Now, we're not talking throw them for a loop and change the entire song and never go back to any of the things you did before. But a lot of bridges and vamps in songs are a little mode or an extra section of a song that comes from your chorus and your verse and the things that you've been doing before. And it's a little variation to it. And it's not super long. It might be, you know, 8 bars at max. Sometimes people do 16 bars. But it's something different to make the listener go, oh, look, a change up. And then it goes back to your chorus. So they go, oh, wow, that was a nice little extra thing they did in there. It makes me like the song more. And you don't want to do it outside of whatever harmony range you've been doing either. You want to keep it within the scale. You want to keep it a lot of times within the chords you've been using, you know, maybe flipping a few chords here and there. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you go 1, 3, 2, 4, or 1, 4, 3, 2, something like that, where it's different, but it's not so far off what has been already happening that it jars the listener. So remember, throw them for a loop, but only for a little bit. And there you have it. Another episode of Tips on the Beat with D.Royul is in the books. Now let's go over the 5 things that I talked about in this episode. Number 1, introductions to the song are like book covers. They give your listener an idea of to what they're about to get into. It can create sort of suspense, and it can make them excited for what's going to be happening in the song. Number 2, something I've spoken about before, layering instruments to get the specific sound that you want for whatever melody or whatever rhythm that you're playing. Stacking them together, putting them at the right volume levels so that create a cohesive sound where one instrument wouldn't do it. Number 3, putting instruments in a specific frequency range so that they're not clashing against each other in the track. You may have synth sounds that have bass frequencies that might clash with your actual bass instrument. So what you want to do is cut out the bass portion of that synthesizer so that they don't clash into each other, and it makes a nice cohesive track. Number 4, recurring themes in the track, bringing them back so that the person who is listening, maybe your crowd, can really get the vibe of the song, can dance along with it, and be able to enjoy themselves. But then, number 5, throw them for a loop once they get into that rhythm. It keeps the listener engaged. Sure, they've been dancing and they've been vibing, but then something brand new comes in and it sounds cool. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that coming. You keep them listening, you keep them engaged. And that's especially what they do in pop tracks when there's drops, when there's bridges and stuff like that. And it's a really nice and effective thing when putting in your music. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Remember, everybody, creativity has no boundaries. Use your God-given gifts and talents to create something fresh today. But always remember, make sure you're having fun while you're doing it. See you next time.